Everybody ready? Good. Then let's get going. Oh, I nearly forgot you guys. Hey everyone, a really warm welcome back. Thanks for being here. So I've been working on a roundup of the year, and I realised whilst I was doing that 2020 is the only year that my absolute nemesis when it comes to towing did not present itself, and that nemesis is the humble but very skinny country lane. So as a way to appease the gods of country lanes and to pray for good touring omens in 2021, I thought I'd put together this little funny, cheeky, tongue-in-cheek celebration of country lane experiences that I've had. Or perhaps I should call them self-inflicted accidental cock-ups. Am I allowed to say cock-ups? Yeah, this channel's not for kids. So anyway, being the owner of a relatively diddy caravan and having grown up learning to drive around country lanes, then I do have a bit of a penchant for not worrying about them particularly. I think there was an example on the Froome bypass where a fire had broken out on the trailer of a tractor towing a load of hay behind it, and the choice was 35 miles round trip or half a mile down a country lane, which I thought I knew relatively well, so I took country lane. Anyway, it was wide enough most of the way down, so it was fine. The only problem I had was running into a rather irate, stressed out local farmer coming around this particular bend. Luckily, I was not speeding down the country lane, so I was able to pull the car and the caravan over just into this little gateway so he could slide past, cussing at me all the way. Of course, sometimes the only way to a route is down a country lane, so you have no choice, and other times you really should have listened to the sat-nav, and other times you really should not have listened to the sat-nav. So, ladies and gents, for your amusement, I present the Christmas Ode to Country Lanes. So those are a couple of fun, I guess, looking back examples. Some when we had to use a particular country lane to get to somewhere interesting, and other times where we just cocked up where we were going. So I thought as the last example I'd share is one from back in 2018. And this is, I guess, a bit of a life lesson, or it was for me, in terms of towing. So let me set the context, and then the example will make more sense. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage from it because I wasn't recording back then. And as it was a bit of a disaster, I think I'm kind of glad I wasn't recording at that point in time. So we were on our way to Keswick, and I think I've put the videos from Keswick out quite a while ago, so they're back on the channel. And we were supposed to be spending Easter in Keswick, so about 10 or 12 days, something like that in total. And the boys and I had headed up a bit early because given we were so far north, I thought I might as well take the caravan back to where I originally bought it from Jandy Caravans in West Calder, because at the time that was the only place you could buy an Ariba feeling, and Jandy have at least a national reputation, if not a wider one, of being incredibly specialist, but really, really well known in the Ariba community. So very trusted by a lot of people. Different from your user dealership, but incredibly trusted. And so for me, those expertise and something I could rely on were worth a couple of hours extra. It was only a couple of hours up from Keswick, so it was fine. Anyway, so we decided to break the journey at T-Bay Services, the lovely T-Bay Services. And the year before, T-Bay had actually had a campsite as part of the service station itself. So you pulled into the slip road, and then off to the left was a campsite, and off round to the right was the main service station. But that winter, the winter of 17-18, they'd actually closed the campsite down. So I phoned them and I talked to them on the phone. A very helpful lady told me it was fine to stop in the service station itself. She advised that we didn't stop in the normal caravan bays, and actually we pulled through and went past the actual building for the service station itself. And she said there'd be caravan parking signed on much further around, so that we were away from the roar of the motorway itself. So that was the plan. We pulled into T-Bay Services, and there were cones everywhere. I'm not kidding you. There were 4, 5 different roads coned off so you could get to different areas. And it wasn't clear which cones belonged where. So it just looked like, I don't know, some sort of chessboard, maybe, of cones, things sticking up all over the place. And then, handmade temporary signage that showed the different places to go. So we got in the slalom of cones and managed to negotiate our way around there. And I have to say I was a bit on edge at this point because it was starting to sleet and to snow, and it was pitch black. And actually this was on the back of a big storm we'd had just a couple of weeks before. And I'd had a call earlier in the day from the dealership themselves to say that they had snow on the ground, and they already had a couple of inches in West Calder, which is just to the east of Glasgow and is just off the M8. So I knew we had just motorway between us and them, mainly, apart from a little bit through the town itself. But I was quite concerned that it was already sleeting where we were, because we'd had beautiful weather all the way up until that point. So anyway, we slalomed our way around the cones, and I went past the building as per the instruction, followed the big sign that said caravans that way. And we got past there, and then all of a sudden, all the signs disappeared. So I had no idea if I was supposed to park anywhere. There are little cul-de-sacs on the left-hand side, which would have been fine if we were just in a van or a very small motorhome, because the turns in were very tight, and it was a fixed cul-de-sac, so there was not a lot, there's no room for sort of U-turning a caravan in there. And in fact, I don't think there was enough room for 3-point reverse turning one in and out. So they were out. There was a big car park up on the right-hand side, which, as you'll see later, or as you'll see from the video I've done of it, we actually ended up in there. But when I first went past it, that car park didn't look like it was part of the service station. It looked like it probably belonged to some of the ancillary buildings that were next to the fuel station. And it wasn't clear whether that was motorway maintenance or parking for those sort of areas. And everywhere else was just covered in cars. So I thought maybe we hadn't gone far enough, so I went a bit further round. And as I was going further round, we actually ended up in the village that's at the back of T-Bay Services, because T-Bay is one of the only service stations that is actually connected to the normal road network. I think it used to be a farm maybe, and then got converted into a service station. So we actually ended up in this Cumbrian village, and I'm sure it's a beautiful village in the daytime, but in the pitch black at night, with sleet coming down, so the visibility was incredibly low, we found ourselves rather stuck and concerned. So I thought, well, we'll carry on a little bit further and we're bound to find a farm track or something that I can reverse back into and pull the caravan back round and go back into the service station. But no, I didn't find any of those sort of tracks. We got to this point, which is a rather tight little bridge. So it's a very skinny little bridge, so a 90-degree over to the right and then a 90-degree left to get back out on the road beyond. And it was so dark and the visibility was so bad that I completely missed the turn, the little lane on the right-hand side that I could have reversed back around and through into. Plus, you know, in that weather, it was getting a bit slippery and it was very muddy at the time as well. So I had to be very careful where I was putting the car before we got really stuck. Anyway, the other problem, of course, is we had absolutely no phone signal. So from the sat nav, it looks like we could carry on through the lane and actually come up a junction higher up and come back around the motorway network. But I couldn't check whether that was a proper junction because we had no signal whatsoever on either 3, which we had one phone on, or Vodafone, which the other phone was set up on. So that was no good. Anyway, we carried on and we got as far as these cars parked here with the next to the little cottages. But it was evening, so everybody was back from wherever they had been for the day, and the parking was full here. There was one little space in front of the gate, but that just wasn't long enough to get both the car and the caravan in there. And had I even managed that, then as I was turning back round on myself to go back the other way, I probably would have clipped one of the cars with the back end of the caravan swinging out. So that was a no-no. Anyway, I got to the point of absolute exasperation, so I just put on as many coats as I could to try and keep dry and slightly not numb. I mean, it was literally that sort of numb your fingers as soon as you get out of the car weather, blowing as well as the sleet and the dark and so on. So out of the car, covered in coats, looking like sort of Michelin woman or something, unhitched the caravan, scraped the skin off my knuckles, of course, motor movered it back into that gateway. Thank God for motor movers. Just about managed to squeeze the Volvo past, turning it round there. Got the Volvo on the road, motor movered the caravan back on the back, and off we went back into the service station and ended up in that top car park. But that was my absolute lowest point in towing. You know, I'm there in a dark, cold, wet, sleety, slippery, muddy Cumbrian village, which I'm sure is beautiful in the lovely weather. And I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing? I've got 1.5 tons of caravan on the back. I've got 2 boys in the car who are, by this point, hangry. You know, they've done brilliantly all day. It's been a great sort of fun road trip, spotting all sorts of stuff as we were going. But by that point, you know, they were getting into that bickering stage. Anyway, to close the video, I wanted to share with you perhaps the best memory, or one of the best memories from towing. And that is that I just got all these coats on. I was about to go outside into the horrible, horrible cold and wet. And of course, I told the boys they weren't allowed out of the car because I didn't want them suffering in this weather. And they stopped bickering. And the eldest one turned around and he said, "Mummy, I know it'll be all right because I know you can do it." So thanks, son. You know, that was the thing that kept me going. So if you're in their bubble, hug your loved ones extra tight this Christmas. If you're not in their bubble, then protect them by not hugging them. Save them until 2021 is well with us and this nasty, nasty COVID has disappeared. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for your support this year. And a very, very Merry Christmas from all 4 of us. Bye for now. See you soon.